Hello, dear folks. Welcome to the show. Jack Xiao on the East West Show with G&E TV. As you can probably tell that I'm trying to get my voice back because I lost my voice over the weekend. Yes, anyway, it is worth my while because we just celebrated the 11th anniversary of the Chinese American Film Festival, which cost everybody a lot, including me, myself, lots of efforts. That's why I lost my voice. But I'm happy about it. I'm very happy about it. As a matter of fact, they say, my guests say, this is about the best, the one of the very best of the past 11 years in a row, right? So for that, we give the Chinese American Film Festival a big, big, big applause. Okay, good. So obviously, we're not talking about the film festival today, which we scheduled to talk about Wednesday and Thursday. Today, I introduce you a good friend of mine, Mr. Aaron Rose, an education specialist. He specialized in the guidances of kids entering college or universities with preparations and the guidances. So he is of Mervyn Learning. So welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me, Jack.
The other day, I heard the whole conversation with a friend of mine talking about their two sons.
Yeah.
One entering about high school, middle school, and the other entering from college to university with majoring subjects, selections, with school selections, with even professor selections, stuff like that.
Yeah.
So I'm really, really interested in the details about it. So I believe lots of my audience, especially those who happen to be parents of somebody, they need to know that. So for the sake of helping my audiences, can you give me a little, something about overall picture about what people in your area do in this whole regard, please?
Sure. Well, first of all, the American education system is very much geared towards separating people into different categories of students. And that starts actually very early as elementary school. Students start getting tracked into remedial, standard, and accelerated tracks. You've probably heard of the GATE program for gifted and talented students. And it continues to stratify as you go further along. So what my role is to help students figure out where they're at within that system, and then what they can do to prepare themselves to be in more advanced tracks, and then also at the end of the process to make sure that when they're applying to college, that the colleges that they're choosing line up with where they are in terms of their stratification, and also that they've taken the time to really get to know themselves so that they can pick a college which really matches their personal needs and can help act as a springboard to help them get onto their long-term goals in terms of getting their careers started.
In other words, you're saying the whole preparation is kind of oriented with a little target already in there, right?
Yeah, so students who perform well in lower grades will often be given the option to enter accelerated programs, right? And
you're not talking about the AP class.
AP classes are at the end of that program when you're talking about in high school, right? But even before high school, you have honors programs and GATE programs, all of these to help students, get further and further along. The thing about it is, like my son just started kindergarten, and the school sent us home a little handout for parents which said that students need to learn 3,600 words this year in kindergarten. But the school is only going to be responsible for teaching them about 600 of those words. And so parents need to take an active role in helping make sure that the students are reading outside of school and doing other things that they can to enhance their vocabulary.
I see.
Now that's just in the one realm of English, vocabulary, reading skills. And you can see that same type of ideology applies to different subjects. So any parent who really wants their students to excel and move forward needs to supplement public school education, especially with outside activities, and you see a proliferation of that throughout the education system.
Sorry for the interruption. I do understand it calls for a joint efforts
Yeah.
from school and from the parents to make a kid a kid.
Yeah.
However, as a society, as an educational system, though, I'm so surprised that with your number 600 words versus 3,600, that means our school system is doing only 1/6 of the job. So, does it sound all right to you, or is it something as a norm, or is it something the reason schools are doing?
Well, I think this is a norm currently for public schools, is that they're not able to deliver all of the education that our students need.
Why are they not?
Well, it's partly a funding issue. There's limited resources. Principals at public schools are doing their very best to deliver quality education, but with one hand tied behind their back financially. So they're relying on parent donations to the schools, to the education boards, to the education foundations, so that they can supplement what the government is able to fund. And that's why a lot of...
Since when had this trend started?
I would say this trend goes back quite a ways. I'm not sure exactly what year, but it's been the norm for quite a while. And that's why parents are more and more thinking about private schools and supplemental programs
All right.
to help their students
Now that you
get ahead.
mentioned private school, though, when these numbers between 600 to 3,600, which is 6 times of it.
Yeah.
So, where do the private schools stay?
Well,
Does that mean private school teach the 3,600?
not all of it, but the private schools, a good private school will do a lot more to prepare students for college and for the skills, reading and math skills that they need. They will have more rigorous coursework and usually longer class hours so that the students get more learning at school. But still, the burden remains with the families to make sure that students have the right mentality, that they have the right study habits and time management skills so that they can continue to prepare on their own. Ultimately, education rests in the hands of the student, and it's the responsibility of the family to make sure that that student is prepared properly. And I work with students and families to make sure that they understand these details and can help guide them.
In between schools and the parents, you're the one that kicks in to allocate the jobs. Right?
Yeah, I help
and
parents.
who does what?
Right.
And which part is to the parent, which part is to the school, and which part you can help manage. That's where you kick in. Am I right?
Yeah,
I don't understand you.
everything from helping students understand the importance of their own reading list, doing reading without school assignments, so that they can develop their own love of reading, which is one of the most important skills that students learn in school, is just reading as a regular habit, to time management skills, to self-analysis and understanding what it is that's important to me, my own values as a student, so that I can articulate those and compare them to the values of different colleges when it's time to apply. In America, the student is at the center of the college admissions process, which is different from most of the rest of the world, where the school is very much at the center and the school's criteria take the precedence.
Yeah, wait a minute. By logic, it is, right? By logic, it is the students who are the center of education. And yet, our school system does only 1/6 of the job. It doesn't fly. The number doesn't fly.
That's right.
Right? The logic doesn't fly. And then it relies upon more and more to the parents, to people like you, to fill in the blank.
Yeah.
And the blank is bigger than the essential part.
Well, you also see a sort of an arms race in education these days. I was just reading a great book by a MIT admissions officer, and she highlights this idea where after giving a talk about college, a student came up to her and asked her, is it true that I need 10 extracurricular activities in order to get into MIT? And she was a little bit put back by this question. But then he produced an admissions form, and it had 10 blanks. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And she looked at it and she said, oh, well, why is this? Well, in the past, there's been students applying more and more extracurricular activities to their applications.
Mm-hmm.
And because they didn't have enough lines on their form,
Mm-hmm.
students would have to attach supplemental pages.
Yeah,
And so in
yeah.
response to this,
Mm-hmm.
universities have added more lines.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that sends a signal out to the field, all the students applying, that other students are doing all of this, therefore I have to do all of this. And so
I see.
with each successive generation of applicants,
yeah.
we step up the bar for admission to college.
The message kind of proliferated that in order to get into, for example, MIT,
Yeah.
you really have to do this.
Yeah, when it's actually not the case at all, and there's no hard, fast rule that you have to have a certain number of extracurricular
That's a good
activities.
sign because you uplift the threshold of the entrance. And on the other hand, there's quite a failure I'm talking about.
Yeah, there's all kinds of interesting problems, but back to that point, a lot of schools would rather see a student who's really invested in maybe one or two activities outside of school that can really highlight a passion that they've been developing for, say, science or art or whatever their personal interests
Okay.
are.
Mhm.
So,
All right. That's probably another part that we can pick up in the next segment. So today with Mr. Aaron Rose, we are talking about how you can successfully teach your kid or bring your kids all the way safe, secured, and 100% effectively to college, to university, to finish his education all the way, to take the benefit of the so-called American education. So now, let's take a very short moment out. When we come back, we'll continue finding the small elements in the whole thing, see if we can do the needle points, right? So stay with us, please.